Hello. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. This is Eric, and today I'll be reviewing A Man Called Otto, which came out early this year, so it's been a couple months. I'm way behind on my movie reviews. I'm going to be putting out about 5 videos just today on some movies that I've seen in the past couple months. And the first one I'm going to talk about is Man Called Otto, starring Tom Hanks. I went to see this one because I'm actually a pretty big Tom Hanks fan. As far as the quality of his movies and the acting and everything like that, just always pretty reliable, historically, most of the time. Not 100%, of course, and that was proven with this movie because right off the bat, wasn't a huge fan of Man Called Otto. The trailer looked like it might be pretty funny. Tom Hanks portraying a character who is old, bitter, rude, just kind of a jerk, doesn't want to be bothered, leave this guy alone. And obviously you already kind of see that there's going to be some kind of a character arc where he turns out to accept somebody, his neighbors, whoever it might be, and realize that he has something to live for and be happy about. And that is pretty much what's going to happen. And he's going to change throughout the movie. Pretty obvious. Not really a spoiler. We already know that that's what this movie is going to be. But how's the execution of that process? So Tom Hanks plays Otto Anderson. His wife has recently passed away a few months back. So for obvious reasons, he's depressed. He doesn't want to be bothered. And it gets really dark pretty quick because he's actually suicidal and attempts suicide multiple times. And it's pretty dark. It doesn't really match the tone of the rest of the movie, which is the problem I have. I don't mind the suicide attempts, although it is kind of strange that every time something stops him from doing it beyond his control. Like, it's really hard for him to kill himself. He's having a really rough time with it. The first failed attempt, kind of understandable, hanging himself and in his own home, and the ceiling just can't handle the weight. It breaks. I can totally see that happening. And that's around that time when his neighbors knock on the door. And they're just really kind of extreme. And I started to realize throughout this movie, when I say extreme, just like kind of goofy, unrealistically over the top, being funny all the time. And like nothing is really serious and just always very jokey. And I noticed pretty much every character is like that or has some kind of acts just goofy or weird or dumb. That would be fine if it was funny, but other than a few moments here and there, it really wasn't that funny. And it was very unrealistic, to the point in one scene where Otto is attempting suicide by carbon monoxide poisoning in his garage, and he's interrupted by his neighbor. She's banging on the garage door. He opens it. Like, what do you want? And she says, dude, my husband fell off the ladder. I need a ride to the hospital. Like, he's in bad condition. And that sounds pretty serious. Like the husband could be hurt bad. I mean, we don't get the context. Did he break his head open? How bad is this? But she did say like he could be dying. He doesn't want to take her. And then they start arguing about trivial things, and it's kind of ridiculous. And she's making jokes now, and it was just kind of awkward. Like, dude, like, I mean, I know this guy's an asshole, but no, you would immediately any normal person would immediately help. And if he's going to be a jerk, you're going to see some more like genuine emotions in that scene from her. You don't see that. It goes comic. It goes with the comic effect every chance it can. It goes comedy instead of any kind of real impact, even though this is a serious situation. So I thought that, his behavior and stuff was always kind of played for jokes, even though he's trying to kill himself. This is dark stuff, but the tone of the movie's constantly jokey instead of serious. Even when he's trying to kill himself, I'm like not really into it. I know he's not going to die 10 minutes into the movie, 15 minutes into the movie, 20 minutes into the movie. I don't even know anything about the movie to know Tom Hanks ain't going to die 15 minutes into the movie. So it really doesn't mean a whole lot. And it's always played for jokes in some way. Maybe not the exact suicide attempts, but before and after, very jokey. And so you have Otto, old guy, bitter old man, very rude, but you know what? I kind of liked him. The thing about it is Tom Hanks is 99.9% of the time a likable character, someone you like. Even back in his early days when he was doing more comedy films, which were hilarious, okay, The Burbs and whatnot, Joe versus the Volcano. Back in those days, loved him. He was so funny. Then, of course, he went more serious, but still always likable. Whether he's in Apollo 13, whether he's Forrest Gump, okay, whoever he is, we love his character. More modern movies too. He's almost always someone you like. So when you see his face, you see someone you like. So right off the bat, I think he was almost miscast. Number one, because it just doesn't pull it off. And also the movie doesn't want to make him, they want to make him an asshole, but not too much, right? Because later he meets a transgender character named Malcolm. Malcolm is delivering newspapers, and for no reason, sometimes it's almost out of character. He just goes out yelling at the kid. Like, what are you even doing? Like, most grumpy people, they just want to be left alone. They're kind of like a bear, you know, out in the forest somewhere. You don't bother them, they won't bother you, right? But Malcolm, like, this guy will just approach people yelling and being mean. I was like, he'll approach cars and say, where are you going? Like he's got a lot of extra energy. He's not just like a depressed, I can't figure him out. I'm not a psychiatrist, but I can't figure him out because he's not just like depressed, staying at home, doesn't know what to do, doesn't want to be bothered. No, he will go out of his way to yell at people for like no reason. And that included Malcolm, who was delivering papers. He gets on him, starts yelling at him. What are you delivering papers at your age? He's like, what are you even doing? Then Malcolm explains, dude, they got like 3 jobs, bro. Back off. And then, oh, okay. And then Malcolm tells him the story about he's a transgender and everything. And strangely enough, Otto, even being an old man from an earlier time, is quite accepting, quite tolerant, you know, and, you know, we don't even get that kind of arc. I would think if you're going to put this transgender character in there, and I'll get to him in a minute, I would think that you would use that as a way to show Tom Hanks that he's some real old school feelings inside. And he thinks it's kind of, he doesn't have to be a downright transphobe or anything, but at least he can, you know, show some kind of like, really? You used to be a girl? Oh, geez, what's the world coming to? Something, you know? No, he's very, very much accepting. They couldn't have Tom Hanks show any kind of a, you know, old school type thinking that's outdated and show him learn from that by getting to know Malcolm. I thought that would have been an interesting arc. Instead, he's just very accepting right off the bat, and he finds out that Malcolm's father, who we never see in the movie, is the one who's not so accepting and kicked him out. And kicked Malcolm out of the house. Tom Hanks' character, Otto, calls him an idiot. He's an idiot for thinking that, which I mean, we would agree. Most people would agree with that and say, yeah, man, what a jerk to kick your kid out of the house because he's a transgender. But the thing about it is, like, again, Otto doesn't need to change. It doesn't. So the presence of the transgender character is not for the purpose of Otto's arc at all. Otto's already quite tolerant, surprisingly tolerant. So just like, I never disliked him. I never thought he was a jerk. So the whole movie didn't really work in that way. And also, by the way, Malcolm is my favorite character in the movie because he's actually really normal, like really straight up normal guy. And I think that's because everyone had to have some kind of wacky characteristic and act funny and weird and way outside of a normal you would ever see. I mean, I can understand there's characters out in the real world, but these people are over the top. And Malcolm is a totally normal guy. And I think that's because his thing for the movie, the writers and everything, his thing is he's the transgender in the movie. So they didn't need to do anything else with that. Also, they didn't want him to act weird because they didn't want to risk being called something or being or portraying a transgender person in any kind of way that's not totally normal. And I understand that, but at the same time, why is everyone else so weird in this movie? And it's not even funny. It's really not. So the movie just didn't work because, to me, I always liked Tom Hanks. And he wasn't even a bigot in any way, shape, or form. He was just a grumpy old man whose wife just died. You could pretty much understand it. And there's nothing to really hate about him. And even when he's a jerk, he's not he's a jerk. Yes, he'll walk up to people and be an asshole, but he's never like, he always has a point to what he's saying. Even when he's yelling at the people who are driving where they're not supposed to drive. They're not supposed to drive there. There's signs. He's like really about his neighborhood. He's really picky about the neighborhood. And so, but bottom line, like, I never looked at him as the big jerk. So when he became nicer at the end, I was like, well, it wasn't really much of a transition. He was always kind of nice. He had that, you could see he had that part of him. And he just got to know his neighbors and a little girl and little daughters. Can't remember. I think there was a couple of little girls, but little kids. I don't even remember now. But anyway, he got to know them and they kind of accepted him, and it was okay. I mean, the movie wasn't, I'm not saying it was horrible, just didn't really like it. Now, there were also flashbacks to younger Tom Hanks, The younger Otto, I mean, when he's meeting his wife and everything, those were okay, but they just felt like, I don't know, they almost felt like I was watching, what's the movie channel, a Hallmark channel or something, like a Lifetime movie, I don't know, or a Christian movie. It just, I don't know, it just the lighting and the dialogue and everything just didn't really do much for me, I guess you could say. It just felt very low budgety. It just didn't do a whole lot for me. But I thought the actor did a good job. Maybe Tom Hanks' son, I'm not really sure, but he looks like him. So it worked pretty well. As far as that goes, his appearance and everything worked very well. And it was okay, but most of the movie was not the flashbacks. I may have enjoyed the flashbacks more, actually, just even though, despite they kind of looked Lifetime movie-ish, and despite that I didn't get a whole lot out of it, I kind of enjoyed it more than the modern over-the-top comedy that wasn't funny to me. Very little of it was funny. I might have a couple laugh-out-loud moments, but that's about it. And it just left me like, that was kind of stupid. I really didn't like it. At the end of the day, I didn't like it. I have no desire to watch it again. Love Tom Hanks and everything. I'm looking forward. I mean, he's had so many great movies, even, you know, in recent years, relatively recent years, going back to like Captain Phillips, going back to Sully, so many, Bridge of Spies I really liked. Just, he's got a lot of great movies, and I think he does a great job. And just, you know, as Jim Lovell, again, Apollo 13 is one of my favorite movies of all time. So I love Tom Hanks, but this was a swing and miss as far as I'm concerned. So I'm going to have to say that this movie, I'm going to give it a soft pass. That's for me. Not a hard pass. Like, if I'm not saying I would never watch it for the rest of my life. If 20 years pass and I see it on TV or something, it's something I could sit through maybe and just give it another try. In 20 years though. So anyway, I'm just playing, but yeah, I'll say a soft pass for Man Called Otto. Didn't particularly enjoy this one. Let me know what you guys think if you saw it. And I'm going to be spamming out a few more movie reviews today. I got a list of movies that I've seen in the last month or two that I need to get reviews on and get them up. So you guys have a good one. Hit that thumbs up, hit a subscribe, and we'll see you next time.